how good is BYU? I think this is a fascinating conversation because AJ Dybantsa certainly is. I think the Texas Tech game puts a real question mark around AJ Dybantsa. I think that AJ is a hell of a player. And the biggest issue for BYU is if we go back and we look at BYU's schedule, what is the thing that stands out? Well, the thing that stands out is that BYU has lost to the two best teams they faced. Does that sound familiar? No, I mean BYU basketball.
What?
This continues to be an ongoing thing with BYU right now. In football and basketball, they lost to UConn, you'll remember, early in the season in what was one of the best games of the year so far still. And now you get really, really handled by Texas Tech, 84-71, and Dybantsa was a 0 in that game. Okay, clearly, and I know that after the Utah game, everybody is riding high, and BYU's the best team in the country, and I understand that. The problem is you can spin AJ Dybantsa versus Texas Tech any way you want, but in my opinion, it's not a great look.
Impressive, while he was doing it, in my mind, I was like, man, this is a special player. I've said it a lot. I think he's hands down the clear-cut #1 pick in the NBA draft upcoming, and it was on full display tonight. He was doing it every which way. And I think the thing I like about it more than anything is, it's coming off his worst performance of the year. He wasn't good at Texas Tech, and came out tonight with unfazed and had a clear want to just go out and dominate the game, and he got going.
Oh, he had a killer instinct, and wow, AJ, and I love AJ Dybantsa. Excuse me, I love the kid. I think AJ Dybantsa is the best player in the country, and I don't have any question in my mind that he should be the #1 pick in the draft. But you cannot continue to play the way he's playing. You're dominating. And listen, you look at his bounce back performance against Utah. Utah is the dregs of college basketball. Utah is 9-11. They're 1-6 in conference. AJ Dybantsa putting up 871 points and 5,618 rebounds against Utah. Man, that's really impressive. Only it's not. I will continue to tell you, beating Utah right now is fun. Beating Utah right now is cool and neat. And it is, you can put that on a whiteboard, and it's been this many days since we beat a meaningless team at Utah basketball, because they quite literally are irrelevant. They're invisible at Utah basketball right now. But if you come out tonight and you lay an egg against Arizona, you're done. There's nothing to talk about basketball-wise. Nothing.
Yeah,
this is the entire season is on the line.
Yeah, I think that BYU's problem is that they've got 3 guys who contribute nightly, most nights, I should say. And when they're not getting 40 or 30 out of Dybantsa, it's a tough going evening for them. The bench to me is particularly the problem. Again, against the Utah team, he puts up 43. You've got Saunders putting up what he put up, and you
got 9 points off the bench.
Yeah, like that. Plus, there just wasn't a lot of just contribution overall. In college basketball, there's a lot of ways to affect the game. And it's not necessarily that they need someone to come off the bench and give them 20, but it would be nice if someone came off the bench and gave them a big rebounding game, or gave them a big plus-minus game, or there are other ways to affect the game. And that's what's tough is that BYU is doing everything that they can do to win in basketball. But I couldn't agree more that I think that the level of competition and how you perform against those really bad teams versus the really good teams is kind of the storyline of this team right now. And Yeah, everyone agrees that AJ is the number one pick in this coming draft. I don't even think that's in dispute at this point. But there's a difference between being a top end draft pick and actually going out and competing for, a national championship in college basketball. And that's what I think that gap is what I think is what everyone's talking about, because it is a wide gap. Like everything was great last year with Kevin Young and coming in, and the program's well funded and everything's awesome, and the new car smell was big. But I think this year it's like, all right, well, yeah, like what do you do against Arizona as a home dog? Like, is this a game you're competitive in, or are we getting another Texas Tech performance? Like, that's what's really interesting.
Well, I think AJ's always going to be the focus of everybody's business. It's guys like Keba that have to do yeoman's work in big games, and he is not. He was not good against UConn. He was not good against Texas Tech. And you start looking at BYU, and you tell yourself, when you have Arizona, at Kansas, Oak State, and then Houston in the next 2 weeks, that's your next 4 games. We're going to find out who you are. AJ Dybantsa is going to make his NBA draft case in the next 2 weeks. And if he does not put up markedly better numbers, you have to, because I will continue to tell you, outside of the Oklahoma State game, your season's going to be on the line every night. Every night. We're talking about seeding in the Big 12 tournament, seeding in the NCAA tournament, and people will tell you, oh, you're being hyperbolic. I guarantee you, go look at the comment section tonight. After this video has been up for 2-3 hours, go look at the comment section. Oh, you're over-exaggerating. Seeding in the Big 12 tournament directly impacts your seeding in the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
And your seeding in the NCAA tournament directly impacts your ability to the Sweet 16, which is the minimum bar for a program like BYU. Going to the NCAA tournament, what does it even mean?
That's a shoo-in. It should be a shoo-in every year. It shouldn't even be really a conversation.
It doesn't mean anything. And I continue to tell people, you can say I'm being hyperbolic. I said this about BYU during the football season. I'm going to say it about BYU during the basketball season. You don't get second chances at BYU. You have to do it bigger and better than everybody else. And we can sit here and we can believe that we'll look at the Ken Palms and it's BYU. They always have to be better than everybody else to get what they deserve. That's just the reality of being BYU. You can't just say, well, we won enough games, put us in. Yeah, it turns out how'd that work out in football?
Facts, 100%. And I think that, this Arizona game, there are levels to different games on your schedules. You've got the biggest games of the year type games. You've got the mid-tier game that would be nice to have, and then you've got the low-end game that you should have every single time, without a doubt. And this, to me, is a tier 1 game. You have to have, you got to have this type of win to be able to justify your stature in the path you're talking about. And I think that, Kevin Young is a really good head coach. There's no question about it. But I every coach is only as good as the players outside of his best player, and he's got to figure out how to get a more well-rounded performance, because the truth is that even as bad as he was against Texas Tech, or even as good as he was against Utah, he is going to be the focal point every single night. And you have to figure out how to get higher percentage looks closer to the basket with your role players. I mean, that has to happen. And I feel like too often, specifically in their starting 5, it just turns into, hey, we're going to move the ball. They're pretty good about moving the ball. But inevitably, when you get down to that 12, 10, 8 seconds left on the clock situation in an offensive possession, it turns into just give it to AJ and let him figure it out. And some nights that's 43 points, and other nights that's 15 points. And that's what stands out to me. Against Utah, you took as a team, I think you took 67 total shots, and he's got 30 of those attempts overall from 3 and from 2. Now he was 50% or whatever it was, but he that was his best game or whatever. But You can't do that as an offense long term and think that you're going to beat a lot of teams.
I just will continue to say Texas Tech, in my opinion, is when you look at their rotation, and if you haven't seen Texas Tech play, they play 6-7 guys. That's really it. They will. You're talking about they really play 6 guys, and the majority of their minutes are eaten up by their 5 starters. And I mean, I'd probably say 90% of the time. I'd have to go back and look at the box on BYU, but I think I think like I could be wrong, but I think Grove's got like 8 minutes or some stupid like that's their leading 6 man minute wise. So my point is when BYU isn't getting production out of guys like Keba or Kennard Davis had a dreadful game, as not productive as AJ Dybantsa was. AJ had, 13 points and 3 rebounds. You look at the numbers, and I don't want to go crushing Kennard Davis, but I think he was like 0 of 6 from 3 in that game. Kennard Davis was 0 of 6 from 3, 2 of 8 from the floor, 5 points, 2 rebounds, 4 fouls. That's not good. That's not good. And what stands out to you about that? This is a guy that averages 7 points and 3 boards. And this is a guy that on the season averages 29% from 3. So that's problematic. And it's because BYU isn't getting production from their best players in big games. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, they're not getting production from the other 4 guys. And you need somebody like obviously everybody points to Richie, but you look at Robert Wright. He gives you 28 points and you lost. He gave you 28 points from a guy who averages, what does he average a game? Like 18 and 3. And you lost.
It's not bad.
No. The point is, he gives you 18 and 3. He stepped up against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And he scored 10 points. He scored 50% more than he usually does. And you lost. That's problematic. And that's why I say, and I understand BYU fans going to lose their mind on me over the Arizona game. You're playing for your season.
Well, and I just think it's a great measuring stick of your program. I agree you're playing for your season, but I think that this game is a game where you're like, okay, cool. We need, AJ is our best player. It can't be AJ can't score 40 in this game and they win. That's not how these kind of games work, right? AJ needs to be 25 to 30 points. I would love to see him be 10 plus boards, right? I'd love to see a double-double out of him. And then I would love to see him play make a little bit, right? Because that's always the next level. If you've got a team, and we see this in the NBA constantly, this is the LeBag conversation, I guess, but the best players in the league know how to draw the defense and make their teammates better, right? Get their teammates high percentage looks by drawing the defense and putting the defense in bad positions. So I understand at the college level, it's much more of a system offense, right? The mindset is we are running sets every single time down, 9 out of 10 times, unless we're playing in transition or, it's a late game situation or something. And it's just a one-on-one. So I understand that Kevin Young loves to do that, but there needs to be in my opinion, a mindset around, we know Arizona is going to work hard to get the ball out of AJ's hand. And we need to be prepared for that. And we need to accommodate that. We need to use that to our advantage. And I think that to me is the next thing out of AJ that I'm looking for. I understand you can score at all 3 levels. I understand you can be a tenacious defender when you want to be. No question about it. You're good at the rim. You can do everything. But in these kind of games with this roster that he's on for their team, for them to beat teams like Arizona, he has to manipulate the game at that level, in my opinion, to get other guys involved outside of the 2 other guys that help him every night. You need the other 5 or 6 guys that see reasonable minutes, enough minutes to impact the game, to have better contributions.
Yeah, I think the problem is, and again, I understand that we don't like to live in reality as sports fans. But what's the reality of college basketball? The reality is your star players have to be stars every night in college basketball. AJ Dybantsa doesn't get a night off because what happens when he does? They're 0-2. That's the reality of college basketball, right? And you look at the boozers, or I mean, pick your poison on like who this argument over who should be the number one pick in the draft. I probably would take AJ Dybantsa, but I think after Texas Tech, many people have moved. Like I was looking at the mock drafts. Most people now in their mock drafts have moved Darren Peterson from Kansas over AJ Dybantsa. Now, I know I don't know anything about sports. I don't know ball, Monty. But why would you move Darren Peterson ahead of AJ Dybantsa after the Texas Tech game? Because it was another big game where AJ Dybantsa was the focus of one of the better defenses in the country, and he couldn't produce. They lost. And that's the harsh reality. Is it AJ's fault they lost? Probably not. Did he have a bad game? His worst. And it's going to cost him the number one spot in the NBA draft. Welcome to the real world. That's the reality. So when I say, hey, your season's on the line tonight, understand what's going to be contested at the Marriott Center tonight. Not the Marriott. It's the Marriott Center.
It's not Marriott, dude. Okay, it's Marriott.
Understand what's going to be contested tonight. A lot of people's draft decisions, and you won't be able to change that after a game. If he does not play well tonight, after tonight, the only chance he'll have to change that is the NCAA tournament.
What do you think playing well tonight looks like, though? Is that obviously a win, of course, but like, you know, is that a 30-point performance against, you know, an Arizona squad? Is that, I mean,
no, he needs to have the Utah game against Arizona.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best teams in the country because that's what the best players do. Doesn't matter who's on the other side, who is guarding you. You got to put up 35, 40 points. You got to, because what was he? 40 and 46 and 3, I think. He's a wonderful passer.
Yeah.
He is. He shares the ball. When he shares the ball, it's a symphony.
Yeah, and it is a home game. I mean, there is no reason there really is no excuse, right? I mean, you're in your building. You have your fans on your side supporting you. You know, you slept in your own bed. Like you should be, you know, you should be totally fine in this game. So, you know, I like how his game translates to the NBA level. But the reality is that what you're talking about is optics, how people view you, how, you know, what your reputation is. Are you viewed as a killer, or are you viewed as a 3-level scorer that could be a great number 2? Because that's essentially to me what you you know, the NBA community is talking about. Is this a guy that in the NBA is that dominant number 2? Are we talking about a taller Austin Reeves, or are we talking about a number 1 franchise, face of the franchise kind of guy? That's what I feel like Arizona style games for AJ are about. And listen, I'll be watching. I really hope that this is a game where they look good. He looks good. He looks decisive. He looks like he's imposing his will. And I think that I also want to give him credit because I know it's not lost on him that obviously this is a big game, that obviously this is an opportunity. However, I do think that he is a pretty, just in the media clips that I've seen, listening to him talk, you know, just, you know, you can kind of get a feel for who a guy is. He definitely is a more chill guy. There's no doubt. I mean, he's one of those guys where he's like, yeah, man, like I know I'm good, but I also know that we need to win more games. And, you know, against Utah, like, yeah, I'm going to dominate them, you know, not a big deal. But I want to see that same attitude against Arizona. I'm completely with you on it.
Yeah, we'll see. Here's AJ Dybantsa after the Utah game.
I ain't know too much about the rivalry. Like, I'm from Boston, but people were just dragging it the whole time, talking about Utah this, Utah that. So I was like, I guess I'll go off for y'all.
I hate that answer. I do. I hate it. And I understand that, hey, Utah loves AJ Dybantsa.
Generational talent, and he showed what he's capable of tonight, and that, and there's no telling how good he could get. credit to them. They did a good job using their height and size advantage against us. But yeah, no, great player, and it'll be, and he can do a lot of things. Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
Agreed.
We'll find out tonight, because I think there's a lot of questions to be asked and answered about AJ Dybantsa, because this run he's been on since, I guess, just before Christmas, where he really is taken off here in early December. Really, it's all well and good but if you lose tonight, I just feel like if you lose tonight and AJ was not good, I think you're in a really bad spot, because you're going to have a tough time with seeding in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
You're going to have a very tough time. And I think, again, I think Utah basketball is an embarrassment to this conference. Like, it is, they're not better. They haven't improved.
Firing Bro the day after you knew you weren't going to the tournament hasn't exactly panned yet. They're still working on it.
Like, it is, it's rough to me that BYU is in this position to, and they're inarguably the best business operation in the Big 12. And they might be top 5 business operations in the entire country as far as athletics go. I mean, they are absolutely running. They're not running circles around Utah. They're running trenches around Utah. Like, Utah is in a terrible place athletically right now. Like, I'm a buyer on the belief that it is systematic at Utah. It is not that they don't have enough talent, or they had, Alex needs some time. I am starting to believe that there are internal systematic issues at Utah. And if Morgan Scalley has a disastrous season, I think that is going to be exposed, because you're stuck with Morgan Scalley, better or worse, for probably 3 years. Probably 3 years, for better or for worse. And you are in a place where men's basketball, you're turning over the coach. If you do not improve next year, this is a lost season now. The season's over for Utah. Like, you're quite literally just practicing your dribbles now.
Yeah.
Your season's over.
These are the development minutes, as they're known.
Yeah. And I think BYU fan, if you look at the messaging, the lack of enthusiasm about beating Utah, that's going to show you, like, they're just,
they know.
There's no
they're
enthusiasm. There's no trophy.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, for beating Utah.
A badge. It's not a badge. It's not. This isn't the holy war on the football field. This isn't the BYU, we beat them 3 times in a row now. Wow. Like, that's not what this is, dude. Even in football, BYU is at this point several seasons ahead of Utah. Utah would have to have, I don't even know what would have to happen in football for Utah to have a 9-win season this year in football. Would be Morgan Scalley should be coach of the year if they win 9 games. Like, I'm not even, I look at where Utah athletics is, and I think this is the first time I've ever looked at Mark Harlan and just been like, I wonder. Because the football disaster of the last month, and now basketball just being a complete farce. I don't know what you're hanging on to as a Utah fan. I really do not. I've never seen one guy in Kyle Whittingham completely tank the morale of a fan base. I can't. And I've never seen it. Yeah, well,
I've never seen it.
And part of that, though, is Witt's leaving did do that, but to me, part of it is again what you had behind him. I understand the initial reaction was, well, hey, I mean, Morgan's going to step in and everything's going to be great, and maybe it will be, right?
But that's not what happened, though.
But that's
not what happened.
Yeah. Well, and that's my point is like, it's just not, it's working both ways now. It's rare in the BYU Utah like conversation and ethos that you see kind of a sort of a similar reaction on both sides where like BYU fan isn't really like touting, yeah, we beat Utah, we're the best. Wow. Like you're not really seeing that on the basketball floor right now out of that fan base. And then you in football, it's like, all right, cool. Like now we've won several in a row. We're a borderline CFP team, and Utah clearly is taking a step back. I just don't know. There is no other way. Even if you're the biggest Utah supporter, I don't know how you describe it any other way. I mean, it's just not like what other way is there to describe the situation?
I think if it was a coaching change that was problematic, okay, totally understand that. Like nobody expects Morgan Scalley's not getting fired after this. Unless he goes butter knives on us, Morgan Scalley's not getting fired after this season.
Right.
Like he could go winless and he wouldn't get fired. The issue isn't you made a coaching change. The issue is your dysfunction behind the scenes is problematic. Your lack of communication and clear messaging is problematic at Utah. Your inability to control the narrative of Kyle Whittingham being run out of Salt Lake City by the University of Utah is problematic. Your fan base vilifying Kyle Whittingham because you refuse to message it is problematic. And what else is problematic is Kyle Whittingham's going to the college football playoff this year, and you're not. That's problematic. What's problematic is Kyle Whittingham's going to leave Utah, and he's going to compete for a national championship. Will he win one? I think that's very difficult to do. But if Kyle Whittingham goes to the college football playoff, that's problematic for you. And if you have a terrible season and Kyle Whittingham goes to the college football playoff, that's problematic for you.
Agreed.
And it's problematic because there's massive dysfunction behind the scenes in the football department with this sponsorship stuff. You know, the funny thing is I was talking to a TV guy last week who brought up the Holly Rowe interview, does not watch the show, brought up the Holly Rowe interview and asked, what was that? What were you trying to accomplish? Because you don't sit down with Holly Rowe because you want to do an interview. You sit down with Holly Rowe because you need to get your message out. And she will not ask a single difficult question. So you sit down with Holly Rowe. She is going to throat slam you for a while, and you're going to have gotten your message out. That did not happen. That did not happen.
Well, what do you think did happen?
Morgan Scalley did not say what he needed to say, and Holly Rowe did not ask what needed to be asked. Yeah. And nobody got answers. And now you're in a position where it feels like Rick Majerus isn't coming through that door anytime soon. Those days are long gone.
Right.
Like I think most of us would be like, yeah, why don't we bring back Larry Kraskowiak? Where's Jim Boylan these days?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you don't. I don't know how, if you're, look, I just think it's really difficult because if you're a Utah fan, I think that there was always sort of this kind of, it's always been lingering around the program for a while. And Witt always made it feel better because he was always a Pac-12 championship contender. He was pushing for a Big 12 championship, pushing for a CFP bid. Like you had the system over here, but then you always had Witt that was like front and center, winning and repping the U and like doing all these great things and riding in on his Harley and during game day. And like, so Witt was always sort of the poster child for Utah and like how great things were. And because of that, basketball not being good didn't matter as much. It was always a talking point, always like, hey, yeah, we're working on it. but it wasn't like it didn't feel like a big deal. It didn't feel
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
like a code red type situation where you're like, God, we got to get this fixed. It just felt like, yeah, we'll get it fixed at some point. And now it's like, oh man, like this sort of surprising situation took place with Witt leaving. And now everyone's looking at our program and they're like, yeah, like you guys probably aren't going to be great on the football field in year one. You're not good in basketball. And
Your building is
question
empty. Your building is
Yeah.
empty.
Your
Nobody's
building is
going to
empty.
games.
Yeah,
You
and
got
everyone agrees with that.
humiliated. You got humiliated in your own building by BYU fans. Like it's rough. All right, let's get your comments. Is AJ Dybantsa the best player in the country? Because I think that's up for question. Oh, look, stupid comments from Utah fans. Hey, TDS fans, did you ever win the WCC? Bro, you haven't been fucking relevant for 20 years. Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, this is the stuff that makes Utah the worst fan base in social media. Like, you're an embarrassment. Saying something like this is completely embarrassing.
Yeah.
You haven't been relevant for 20, what is it? Probably, and again, I guess I can go back and look at the history of
So you're making us
Utah
get the old
basketball,
Google
but
machine going, dude. Come on.
you haven't been relevant since probably the year after Rick Majerus left. When, like, what was that? 06, 07? No, it was earlier than that. Like 03, 04, 04, 05. That 1 year after he left, when you went to what did they go to? The Sweet 16, I think. And you're trying to run smack about TD. You're just, go away. Go away. Take Arizona -2.5. I don't know how you don't. As a BYU fan, I never thought I would miss Dawson Baker this much. Yeah, with didn't he tear his ACL like right after Thanksgiving?
Rough.
It's brutal. Ooh. Boyd Lake, hello. Utah was a premier basketball program for years. It was shocking to see their arena half empty. It is, and that's my point when I say, like, it's really tough at Utah because you don't have anything that you're building on in basketball. Like, if your football program's down, Arizona is a great juxtaposition of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Arizona football has been invisible for a long time. Not anymore. You're winning games. You feel good about what you're doing in football. You're always a basketball powerhouse. Well, if you flip that script and you say to yourself, well, Arizona's been a wreck in basketball. Sean Miller, wiretaps that weren't,
Such as in like.
Well, they're back because they're a perennial basketball powerhouse. One of the best teams in the country right now. And their football now is rising. Look at Utah. Irrelevant in men's basketball, just invisible. And now you have as much instability around football as you've probably had in predating Kyle Whittingham. You've never had this kind of instability in football. Not that I can ever remember.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Scally will be blamed if Utah struggles this year. Witt taking staff and players will have impact, and he will be, well, I think no matter what, as I said, I don't think there's anything that Morgan Scally can do this year outside of axing somebody in the middle of the street, Donnie style.
Right.
That would get him fired at Utah. I don't even, you could go winless and they'll blame it on Kyle Whittingham.
Mm-hmm.
The stadium could fall down. It's Kyle Whittingham's fault, right? Chaplain James White. So we're really doing this. How about them frogs? You're not a TCU fan. Nobody cares.
How? Bro, where?
Have you spoken to Jesus about this? Have you spoken to Jesus about this?
Wolf of Wall Street.
You probably should. I think Jesus would be embarrassed for you with this TCU nonsense. Come on. Like, what are we even doing?
Yeah.
Did anyone see TCU beat Baylor in Waco? I was there.
Was your wife there? Because she's a Baylor fan now.
Your current wife.
Yeah, your current wife, not the Walmart wife. Your current wife. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is always, yeah. You guys are ridiculous that you're trying to put yourself off as a TCU basketball fan. Bro, go back to bed. All right, I'll take the bait. The entire season is not on the line. Okay, so what happens if you lose tonight? You lose tonight and AJ Dybantsa doesn't play well. Is he the number 1 pick in the NBA draft? No. You lose tonight. Does it impact your seeding in the Big 12 tournament? Yes. You lose tonight. You've lost to the 3 best teams that you've played this year. Does it impact your seeding in the NCAA tournament? Go ahead. You can say it. That's a yes. Yes. If you don't understand why your season's on the line tonight,
Yeah. Good luck.
Rick Majerus, yes. And another frantic and emotional response by Monty. No, you're a fraud, guy. You are the most angry, uneducated, one of the most angry, uneducated fans we have in the chat. And usually I either give you a free pass or I just don't read your nonsense. But when you start talking about did BYU win a WCC championship, that's what you're reduced to. Because you're non-competitive in just about, I think you've won 1 game in the Big 12 this year. You've won 1 game in the Big 12 this year. And you want to talk about BYU basketball. You're quite literally the worst team in the Big 12. Again, you're sub 500 at 9-11. And let me break it to you. Who's the only team that's sub 500 in the Big 12? You know the answer. Who are you talking about? Like, it's hysterical to me that the noisy, obscene, disgusting Utah vocal minority just doesn't know when to take the loss. Take the loss. Because I have bad news for you. As the days move forward, what do you think? Do you think it's going to get better? Because what comes after another disaster of a basketball season? If you guys didn't play another game at Utah basketball the entire season, nobody would notice. So once that debacle's over, what's going to happen next? Oh, that's right, spring ball. What happens in spring ball? We figure out what you don't have.
Program.
We figure out what you don't have. And what's the flip side of that? The perennial conference championship contender, TDS, that you're obsessing over. I got bad news for you. They're significantly now. The talent gap that this is Pac-12 country. Remember all that bullshit where you guys put up billboards along the freeway? Did you win? Did you win a Rose Bowl? Because that's akin to, did you win the WCC? Did you win a Rose Bowl? No. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You have won quite literally nothing. Nothing. You have not been relevant in 20 years, and you want to roll up and ask BYU if they've won a WCC championship. It's wild to me that Utah fan just cannot stay out of their own way. You just can't do it. You have gone out of your way to humiliate your university with your Kyle Whittingham bullshit. And now you want to know if BYU won a WCC championship. Do you understand, just what a jackwagon you are? when that's where you go. You're not going to likely, in all likelihood, you're not going to be even a talking point in Big 12 basketball for the next several seasons. You're not likely, unless heaven and earth are moved, you're not likely to be relevant in college football this year. Because you're just not talented. You don't have depth. You don't have stars. And we're supposed to believe that BYU's success or failure in the WCC is the talking point now. You just got your ass handed to you again. Like, I'll never understand it. I will never understand it. It is like, do you understand that BYU and Kalani Sitake quite literally inhaled a Pop-Tart? And that got them more press than you've gotten in the last at least calendar year. Let that sink in. They went to the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Kalani Sitake deep-throating a Pop-Tart got BYU more press in that singular moment than any men's sport in Utah in the last year. And you want to know if BYU won a WCC championship? How do you fix that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's what Utah fan does, man. Utah fan on Twitter, anyway.
I don't know that there's anybody in the entire universe who's defended Mark Harlan more than me. And now I'm not doing that. When you attack, when Mark Harlan sinks to the level of your disgusting behavior and attacks a kid on Twitter, that's kind of where I get off the train. That's last stop, dude. Like, it's crazy to me. Crazy to me. And then BYU fan can't help. You're winning. Shut up. You're winning. You're winning. Don't talk. AJ Dybantsa's future draft status does not affect my fandom. No, nobody said it affects your fandom. What I said was AJ Dybantsa, the number one player in the NBA draft. Do you think there's any value, monetary value, for BYU if AJ Dybantsa goes number one overall? He is a black kid who's not Mormon, who's from Boston, as he just told you. He's not LDS. He got paid, so he came to BYU. If he goes number one overall, you think that helps you at all? I would say yes, significantly. You're on a hot streak we've never seen the likes of in Provo. You're running a business operation that is dominating a good swath of college athletics.
Mm-hmm.
Not the state of Utah. That was conquered several years ago. You're running an athletic department at BYU that is dominating large portions of the country. And you can't. It's crazy to me. TCU James on strike. Eye patch is a complete tool. It's why Eye patch is one of those guys, when he says something relevant and I happen to see it, I will read it. 9 out of 10 of his comments go unread because there's nothing there. He's the meat inside an idiot sandwich. You know. You win nothing. Now, good day, sir. I say good day, sir.
Yeah.
I miss Gene Wilder. The reason the Utes are in terrible position that Monty is talking about is because of AD Mark Harlan. And I'm starting to come to that conclusion. Because it would have been fine if the men's basketball program was just non-existent. Cool. That's just how some universities are. But then you somehow found a way to string Kyle Whittingham up by a yard arm at the 50-yard line. And you attack his legacy and you say that he is this and he is that and he is Judas and he is the devil and then you attack kids on Twitter. I'm just going to tell you, you're now Mike Gundy.
You're going the wrong way, dude.
I'll never understand it. Coming in here, trashing a solid program from top to bottom when your team is below 500 and not relevant is laughable. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, yeah. And BYU basketball in particular, they've got arguably the best player in college basketball in AJ Dybantsa. Bought and paid for. You're doing it right.
Which is no longer a sin. No longer a terrible thing to do in today's world.
BYU fan, just put on your seatbelt, get comfortable, and go for the ride. Let idiot Utah fan do his thing. I make a good point. Thank you. Appreciate that. I brought up Harlan eye patch. What is eye patch thing? Matter of fact, I haven't talked about Mark Harlan either, good or bad. Well, nobody said you did. Who said you did? What I said was, Mark Harlan has lowered himself to your scumbaggery by attacking people on Twitter. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me correct myself. By attacking teenage kids on Twitter. Kids who wanted to go with their family. Because what is his uncle and his brother are both at Michigan football?
Family.
Yeah, attack that kid. Good idea. Good idea. Like, it's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
Who said yes to that idea?
It's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
I remember Mark Harlan's inner demon said yes to that because nobody checks Mark before he tweets.
Yeah, and as usual, Boyd Lake, who's one of the more educated, better spoken SEO kings of America and a BYU fan. Yes, Igor's success, huge. AJ's success, huge.
Yeah.
If BYU were to land the number one pick in the NBA draft, I think it could be transformative for 5 years because that's going to net you. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, if I go there, hey, look, AJ went there. He's not Mormon. He didn't go to church. He's not. And he's the number one pick in the. I should consider that. And you start looking around the NFL and you start looking around the NBA. And the biggest issue is with AJ, we don't have to talk about the Jimmer anymore.
No.
That's the singular biggest.
Mainly because he's a better player.
But it's not even better player. Jimmer was a sensation who never was a sensation in the NBA. He never made it. Star overseas, star in 3-on-3, really great college basketball player, but he was a freak. Right? For everything that the Jimmer meant to this university, and he meant a lot. For everything the Jimmer was, he was a carnival act. He could shoot the three really well. Really, really well. Didn't translate in the NBA. And I will again say, what's the biggest difference between AJ Dybantsa and Jimmer Fredette? AJ is young, he is black, and he is not Mormon. In college basketball, that's huge for BYU. For everybody else, it's just is what it is. At BYU, the non-member black athlete in college basketball is really important to their grand scheme of NIL and winning a national championship. Because that's what BYU's after. BYU's not after participation trophies.
Venice Parade.
You guys should try that.
Yeah.
Mark Harlan will get fired before Ward Manuel. People are nobody's asking that. Nobody's asking that. Ward should have been fired by now. There's an investigation going. He is the last man standing. Guess the buck stops here mantra does not work at Michigan. I think Ward Manuel at the end of this investigation, because don't forget, Our highly ethical friends at Michigan. You guys, they're running an independent investigation, and let's just be honest, friends. They're doing everything that they can do to root out any kind of corruption.
Don't lie to me.
At the end of this investigation, he'll be gone. No doubt. Good news, Harlan is no J.D. Wicker. Bad news, Harlan is no homo. Very true. Idiot Utah fan is acting like idiot BYU fan when Utah was treating independent BYU like it was a little brother. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Tables will turn. It's very secular. BYU now as they're at the top of the circle now. Can they find a way to win a championship? Because that's ultimately what neither Utah nor BYU has done.
Yeah.
Because
get to the top.
And dare I say, the disaster that was the Pac-12 conference diminished Utah's success. Nobody talks about, back-to-back Pac-12 championships. Wow. Nobody talks about that. Who in Utah is talking about that? Your crown jewel accomplishment, hollow. Well, and why is that? Well, because you didn't win the Rose Bowl. You didn't win the Rose Bowl. So, Smithers, I think Mark Harlan's downfall began when he started reacting to tweets about not leaving the conference when he left a conference to go to another conference. Nah, I don't think so. I think that's what you do. I don't think that's his downfall began when he lost his mind over the BYU loss.
Yes.
When he was on the field that's where he began to backslide. I think there is some truth to that, Brandon Bowler. I think there is. Nobody cares. Why are you a TCU fan? See, you're in this weird place, James, where as a Jesuit, I would expect you to be an Oklahoma State fan. But now you're a TCU fan. And when football starts, and inevitably TCU is going to suck, you're going to migrate back to Oak State. And you're going to have forgotten that your demon is at TCU. Nobody knows who Xavier Edmonds is, and nobody cares. You know. Robert Wright is also very important to BYU. He's having a great season. But like I said, he scored 50% above his average, and they lost. That team comes and goes with AJ. It's very simple. You'll get the occasional Richie Saunders unbelievable performance. You'll get him popping off, and what is if AJ's at 24 points a night, 23.6, my guess is, it is, to me, it doesn't almost even matter. It doesn't almost even matter. And we're only having this conversation. And again, I think this is important. We're only having this conversation because BYU basketball is incredibly relevant. It is unbelievable to me that BYU basketball has risen to this level. It's unbelievable to me that you have this quality of player, that you have this depth of quality of player, and that you're spending this much money in NIL. It's incredible to me. And where I will leave this is, you're going to have to find a way now, if you're BYU, to beat Texas Tech. Because I think losing to Texas Tech on a regular basis, and when we look at like this game tonight, you got to beat Arizona. It's at home. You're a home dog on a huge Monday night game, right? You got to do that. But you are from a business perspective dominating the Big 12. Cody Campbell, again, he's the Jimmer of Texas Tech. The guy's at Carnival. He's got a bunch of money. They haven't won yet at Texas Tech. The door is open because Texas Tech is no more successful than BYU is. BYU absolutely got hosed and should have been in the college football playoff. And I might be able to make the argument 2 years in a row, but for certain this past year. But Texas Tech not being able to win that game, that hurts. And in my opinion, Texas Tech is probably the better basketball team. We'll find out. But you certainly are not doing the kind of business, and you don't have the round business operation that BYU's got. And when we look at BYU, and you're going to say I'm pandering, whatever. BYU's business operation is significantly better than pretty much anybody else in the country. They have it. And that's why this question, would you rather be BYU or would you rather be Texas Tech? I don't know. I think that's a really interesting question because I think athletically, they're very close. They're very close. On the field, head-to-head, not close. Texas Tech is dominated, especially in football. BYU has significantly more, diversity in their profile. They have significantly more diversity in their money. They're not reliant on Cody Campbell. They're not reliant on one donor, significantly more diversity, significantly more stability. Now that's got to translate to winning games on the field because if BYU doesn't beat Texas Tech head-to-head, it just doesn't matter. It just does not matter. So, no, Guy, nobody cares. Please trust me. I was there Saturday in Waco. We heard you the 9th time you said you were in Waco. Edmonds was triple teamed, got the rebound, put it back. Okay, let me ask you something. Why does it matter? Why does it matter? You are talking about a team. You make this so easy. TCU is 3-4 in conference. They're not good. You want to talk about a team that's struggling or an athletic department that's struggling. You've lost to New Orleans, Michigan, Notre Dame. You lost to Notre Dame. How? Oh, and did I mention that I think they lost 5 of 6. Kansas, Arizona, BYU. You lost to Utah. Thankfully, Oak State's below you in the standings. And you want me to talk about? No. I appreciate the $5. I do. What's going to happen, James? What's going to happen when Oklahoma State gets better in football? Do you just forget that TCU exists, or I think that would be interesting? Brandon Butler, BYU now has rules they can play by that lets them keep their white hat. The Y has handicapped by the old rule. Oh, I don't think there's any doubt they were handicapped. Remember the BYU Bagman? You guys remember the BYU Bagman? Now, as a private school, they can flex their money in answer to no one. And we're going to get into Dabo and all that tampering stuff in a minute. BYU does not have to open their books to anybody. They're a private, faith-based institution. They don't have to open their books. Butter knife equals best turd cutter. Jake on the phone with Sharon Moore to get a good deal on a turd cutter. Okay. Excited to see the entire BYU Arizona game. I've only tuned in here and there to BYU games this year. AJ Dybantsa is legitimate. He is. If you have not watched AJ Dybantsa play basketball, you should watch tonight. They seem to wait for AJ to do his thing when I tuned in. Should be a great game tonight. Well, I just think that AJ, he's what every star player is to a team. He's the guy that gets you going. And when they are playing their best, when they are when they are firing on all cylinders, he makes them better. Because I'm telling you, I know we all look at numbers and stat sheets, and AJ Dybantsa, when he passes the basketball, when he is in full effect and he's getting his teammates involved, and I'm telling you, he is the best player in the country. Chaplain James White. It matters because if someone needs a power forward, they could get him in the second round of the draft and they would get a bargain. Okay. Yeah, go Frogs. But I think this is a very good point. This is a very, very good point. And I still maintain this conversation around Dabo Swinney is very interesting. Very, very interesting. And I say that because I think it is the number one question out of Dabo's presser: is tampering real in college athletics? Let's come back, talk about that after this from the Advocates.
Injured in an accident? You may be entitled to a bigger settlement, up to 3.5 times bigger. Your initial consultation is 100% free, and we don't get paid unless we win your case. No matter the accident, we are here to help. The Advocates will fight for you because you deserve clarity, you deserve justice, you deserve guidance, you deserve an advocate. Contact us today